good news is, for me, I'm here. The bad news for you is, I'm coming back.
Isn't it wonderful to allow protesting? No.
Well, it was an amazing phone call I made. 40 Wall Street actually was the second tallest building in downtown Manhattan, and it was actually, before the World Trade Center, was the tallest. And then when they built the World Trade Center, it became known as the second tallest, and now it's the tallest. And I just spoke to my people.
He was not a loser. He was a patriot, and the people left behind there were heroes. And I resent like hell. I'm talking about my son, Beau Biden. You're talking about
I don't know, Beau. I know Hunter. Hunter.
Isn't it wonderful to allow protesting? No.
You know, the truth of the matter is that when you look at some of my policies, in a lot of ways, Richard Nixon was more liberal than I was.
They're dying. That's true. And it is what it is.
Isn't it wonderful to allow protesting? No.
So stupid. So stupid. Thank you. Thank you.
Is this thing on? Is this hello? Is this thing on? Oh, hello users, and welcome back. This is Above It All. Y'all, what is popping? Hello, hello, everybody. Hello, my precious. My preciousies. My precious knees. I have not had coffee this morning. I made a decision that I regret, as of this current moment, to not have coffee this morning and to cut down today, because I had a lot of caffeine yesterday, and so I decided I wanted to cut down today, and I probably should not have done that. So that's where we're at right now. That's the situation. Giving you a live update on this situation. Hopefully everyone's having a good night, good morning, whatever time it is. I don't know. I did not do the stream last night because I wanted to watch the debate with my family instead. So that's why I wasn't live last night. I said so in my Discord, but if you're not in my Discord, then chances are you didn't get that message. And so you really got to join that Discord. You got to get in there, folks. You got to get in there. So I'm just currently still setting everything up. I think I'm good to go though. So I'd like to say hello to the users that took their time out of their morning to come to this live stream. We have Ultralight J, Cloud, I Am Sudan, G Wolf, Dev J, and that's it. All right. So we got a few people that are using this broadcast. I noticed that the intro, I was gaining viewers, and as soon as I started speaking, now I'm losing viewers. So that's sounds about right as far as all things are considered. Have I had some other morning beverage? No, I've had water this morning. Cloud asks. Okay, so I Am Sudan, who claims to be far left, but they're still like a teenager, and they're working things out in their personal lives. They're talking about how America is not a democracy and democracy is a bad thing. And that's actually a really good segue into the thing I've got lined up here. And that's that we have a senator from Utah. We have a senator from Utah who is coming out against democracy. So one of the things that a lot of people love to say is, oh, we live in a democracy. If Trump gets elected again, he's going to take away our democracy. Democracy, democracy, they say. We don't live in a democracy. And as Mike Lee, maybe for questionable purposes, would like to remind us, we do not live in that democracy. So, Mike Lee, this is during the debate. For whatever reason, Mike Lee just decided to have a meltdown during the debate about democracy. I'm guessing they talked about, like, the democracy's at stake or something. But yeah, Mike Lee says, the word democracy appears nowhere in the Constitution, perhaps because our form of government is not a democracy, it's a constitutional republic. To me, it matters. It should matter to anyone who worries about the excessive accumulation of power in the hands of the few. Now, of course, Mike Lee is not coming out against the President of the United States here, right? When the President of the United States abuses his power to allow, I don't know, potential mask bans in the states of Georgia and Texas and so forth. When Trump is all about states' rights when it comes to handling a virus, which is one of the only good things that a federal government could be used for, but is not about state rights when it comes to protesters, right? Like I was saying earlier, you know, like Trump was saying earlier, I should say, right?
Isn't it wonderful to allow protesting? No.
Right, so states' rights for me, but not for thee. And then Mike Lee again has a meltdown. We're not a democracy. Really strange behavior for Mike Lee last night. I don't know if he was on drugs. I don't know what was going on with him, but he really just wanted to power home that point that yes, the executive branch is too powerful, but also Donald Trump is good. And those two things are things you can think at the same time, apparently, if your name is Mike Lee. But yeah, so in other news, the debate was like just really fun. It wasn't like, it was one of those like slow burns, right? Like it wasn't like you didn't have like, I don't recall, and maybe because I was really fucking fucked up last night, right? I don't recall many like good moments. I really loved when Kamala Harris was talking about Infrastructure Week. That was hilarious. That was absolutely fun. I Am That I Am is talking about Antifa. So if you watch the full stream, I Am That I Am, I'm actually going to talk about Antifa. So hold the phone, buddy. Hold the phone. I've got my phone right here. So maybe if you can hold your phone, wait like 20-30 minutes, then we can talk about Antifa, because there were some protests last night. And I'm going to be reading up on that as the days progress. But there were some very questionable actions going on at these protests, so gotta talk about it. But yeah, so let's talk about the debate. Let's actually do that. And no other better way to talk about the full context of the debate than talk about the highlights. And by highlights, I mean highlight, right? Smia Corin in the chat says, I thought sure Pence didn't have any black friends. Then the fly showed up. Okay, it was actually really funny. When Mike Pence, he was just talking about whatever, right? He was just doing the whole thing. And he just, decides, oh, wait, what do I do? Oh, I know. I'm gonna mention Senator Tim Scott, who I believe is the only black Republican senator, and he just he mentioned Tim Scott during the Black Lives Matter conversation. It was just about coronavirus and how it's killing people, and it was just really funny. So Mike Pence definitely did bring out the oh yeah, we have one black senator card, and he used it up, and it wasn't even I don't think anyone registered that one. But yeah, Mike Pence had a fly land on him. I didn't notice it. I thought it was a fly on our television screen, and then as soon as I started checking Twitter, because every once in a while someone leaves the door open, right, and a fly gets in, right? So I thought a fly literally legit landed on the television screen, and then I start seeing flies trend on Twitter, and I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was really, really funny. And this is another thing that came out during the debate. During the debate, Joe Biden decided, I guess, I don't know if Joe Biden decided it, but some very intelligent intern on the Joe Biden campaign decided, yes, this is a moment where we can capitalize. This is a moment where we can take advantage of the social media marketplace here. And so Joe Biden posted this tweet. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. And then they took the joke a little too far, I think. but they're now selling fly swatters. I think that's taking the joke a little too far. I think they're like, okay, we have something good, now let's like milk it to death, right? But it's still really funny. So shout outs to Joe Biden. But as far as the debate goes, right, let's just have this open. Because I don't have any clips. I'm just going to give you my reactions from what I can remember last night. Now, again, my favorite moment of the debate was when Kamala Harris name dropped Infrastructure Week. Still waiting on that one, by the way, Trump. I know it's been a couple years. I know you got bogged down. There's some stuff going on. I get you. But if we can get some Infrastructure Week stuff going on, that would be great. But yeah, I think personally, and I did a whole live tweeting thread that I think 3 people may have read. But I think Kamala Harris did absolutely fantastic in this debate. And I don't like Kamala Harris. That needs to be underscored. I'm not a Kamala Harris fan. I'm not at all, right? But her debate performance, it was a little shaky in like the first 30 minutes. You could tell she was a little nervous, right? Like you could tell like she was kind of like, choking up a little bit. She couldn't really but like after she got like her kind of like, after the adrenaline started to kick in, I suppose, she did a really, really, really good job. And again, I don't like Kamala Harris. I don't. I'm not a fan of her. I brutally mocked her at every step of the way in the primary, and I still brutally mock her whenever she does something cringe, and she does that very often, by the way. I just want to say, Kamala Harris and I agree on one thing, that Tupac is the greatest rapper alive, and with that being said, she did a really good job. And that really goes to show, okay? Like, my thing going into this debate was that Mike Pence is the human form of oatmeal. This guy is not a real person, and his debate performance showed that. He's not a real person. He is a drone. Now, whether or not he has his own ambitions, yeah, sure, you can see him grinning while looking at President Trump unable to breathe, right? But, the thing is, Pence is a soldier of God, a soldier of Christ, or whatever version of Christ he pretends to believe in, and that's what he is, right? So he had his marching orders. His marching orders were do nothing controversial. This is basically Mike Pence's job at the debate was actually kind of like Joe Biden's job on this election season. Do nothing controversial, say nothing controversial, just keep up with what we've got and just get through the night. And that's what Mike Pence did. He lied and dodged every single question. Every single question. And Kamala Harris has a giant red flag, right? Her prosecutorial record, right, in California is not good. And she has a lot of votes in the Senate that are not good. And if the game, right, is to suppress the vote for Democrats, which, let's be honest, Trump has no other path to victory in this election. And I'm saying the election, not cheating in the aftermath. But as far as the election goes, Donald Trump has no path to victory other than suppress and depress the Democratic electorate. And there's so many giant fucking gaping red flags in Kamala Harris's prosecutorial record and her Senate voting record. And Mike Pence decided to focus on the USMCA? What? One of the very few good votes that Kamala Harris has cast in the Senate? And that's what Mike Pence decides to focus on for way too long? It was bizarre. It was really, really, really bizarre, right? And then you have Kamala Harris on the other hand, and I watched this debate with my family who has never, they didn't even watch the Trump Biden debate. Now, I told them about it, but I wanted to stream that, but this one is it's lower key, so I don't necessarily mind missing the stream for it and just watching it with the family, right? So it was kind of in that gray area where it's fuck it, whatever. I'm probably not going to go watch. If Trump Biden 2 happens, I'm not going to watch that with them. I'm going to watch it up here on a broadcast, right? But they did not watch the Trump Biden debate, but they watched this one with me. They bared with me. And basically, what resonated with them, and I'm going to use them as a bear-weather here, or bellwether, whatever the term is. What resonated with them the most is Kamala Harris, right, routinely and consistently turned back all the lies against the administration. Because again, Donald Trump and Mike Pence, they're doing this thing where they're running as if they're not president or vice president. They're running as if Obama is still president. They're doing this law and order thing even though they're president and they're not doing law and order. They're doing this, but the deep state, even though it's their deep state, right? They appointed everyone. So it's it's really strange. And Kamala Harris really laid that out throughout a majority of this debate. It was really, really well done. And again, I'm not a Kamala Harris fan, and I want that to be underscored. But like again, when she had this moment when she was when Pence, who by the way shouted himself out as the leader and head of the coronavirus task force. That's something that you don't want the American people to know. Oh yeah, you know what? This is your grandma died because of my leadership on the coronavirus task force. But he shouted himself out, right, as the head of the coronavirus task force. And then Kamala Harris shortly afterward used that opportunity and said, whatever y'all are doing, clearly it's not working. And that resonated with people in my family. They thought that was great, and I thought that was great. Kamala Harris did a really, really good job at kind of speaking like a normal person. And in this election season, where you've got 3 of the 4 people on the tickets, right, being old men who can't speak English properly, Kamala Harris really shines like a bright light in that environment because she speaks in that kind of like cool, hip, I'm a millennial too, kids kind of tone, right? And yeah, it can be cringy, but when you're up against human oatmeal, right? Like when you're up against a literal like sock drawer, right? Inside of a suit, it does a good job. Like if Kamala Harris is going up against Bernie Sanders, it's embarrassing, right? Like you're doing this whole charade when you can just endorse a bill that you already co-sponsored months ago, right? And that was embarrassing. But when you have Kamala Harris go up against this guy, it's a slam dunk. It's easy mode. And so again, as far as normal people are concerned, Kamala Harris destroyed this debate. There is no if, and, or but about it. Mike Pence is not charismatic. He's not cool. He's not fun. He didn't announce anything. He didn't get too controversial. When he decided to go after Kamala Harris's record, he focused on the best parts of her record instead of the worst parts of her record, which is ridiculous. And he did try to swerve a lot of the debate on her prosecutorial stances and on the arrests that she was potentially responsible for, but he didn't know enough of the details in order to actually get the job done, and his job there being to suppress and depress the Democratic electorate. That's not happening. If anything, he did the exact opposite. But, again, the primary objective was to say and do nothing controversial, right? And that's Trump's job. Trump's job is to make the blunders. Pence's job is to clean up the blunders. That's kind of how this goes. But I do think that Kamala Harris did a really good job. And again, I don't like her. I'm not a fan of her. Her politics are very gross, right? Another thing she did was she made front and center that she was going to decriminalize marijuana in all 50 states. And she also hinted and should have expanded on more the expungement of records and so forth, right? Like she's hinting at like a giant reform in like the criminal code when it comes to drug use, especially particularly related to marijuana. She should have hammered into that more, but I get it. She's trying to thread a needle there. But that hit home a lot. I know a lot of people that are specifically and exclusively going to vote for Biden because they want decriminalized marijuana. Now, here's the thing. Donald Trump and Mike Pence could do that literally right now. They could do it like yesterday. They could do it like if they got the idea to do it right now, say they're watching my broadcast, it could be done by the time noon hits, by lunchtime. They could have decriminalized or legalized marijuana in all 50 states, but they're not doing it. So it's one of those things where it's like a called out bluff, right? Trump could easily, and I'm not even joking when I say this, right? I am a weed user. I know a lot of weed users. A lot of weed users are relatively apolitical. I know they shouldn't be, right? But a lot of weed users are getting the message. Vote for Biden and you don't have to worry about going to jail anymore. And I get it. I know. They're liars. They might not do it, right? But Donald Trump has been president for 4 years and he hasn't legalized marijuana yet. So he's probably not going to do it. And even then, if he does do it, good, right? I want him to do it. If he calls out Biden's bluff and tries to do this as like a late October surprise, let's go, Trump. Let's go. I'll smoke a blunt in celebration, right? But That is, I think, and in my opinion, that is Kamala Harris's most popular grassroots policy. Rather, the Biden-Harris ticket's most popular grassroots policy. I get it. Their campaign is mostly funded by the idea that Trump is bad. They're mostly they're running on the fumes of Trump being terrible. They're running on the destruction of the Trump administration, right? But as far as bringing out people that aren't normally voters, decriminalizing marijuana is a huge step. And her actually openly advocating for that on the debate stage is awesome. That's absolutely tremendous. And a lot of people did not know that. Right now, it should, if they were good at marketing, it would be more in the headlines right now. More people would be getting this message. But either way, her mentioning that I thought was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But yeah, as far as the debate goes, again, I think that sums up my thoughts. It was a very surprisingly effective debate for the Biden-Harris ticket. And again, you've got Biden up 16 points in some polls, right? Trump's not going to win. There is no path to victory for Donald Trump. The only path to retaining the powers of the White House is through a legal or military coup. And let's be honest, it happened in 2000. It might happen again. So we have to brace for impact, and we have to prepare for what's going to happen, right? But as far as this election is concerned, this is all entertainment. Get your popcorn ready and have a good time, because this is just a clown show. This stuff doesn't matter. The election is over. Biden has won, right? He is the president-elect at this moment. And maybe I'll eat my words in 3 weeks. It's totally possible, right? But again, as of this moment, I don't see how it's possible that Biden would lose an election. Now, again, how he does not have, how he doesn't become the 46th president, I can see that happen. Right? But as far as the election goes, as far as any semblance of democracy, I know Mike Lee is very upset by that, but any semblance of democracy goes, the election's over. I don't know. The election's over. I don't know, man. But either way, the debate, I thought it was good for the Harris team, good for the Biden team. I don't think it moved anything. The people, we have in the chat room, I am in the live chat right now for the show, is just going crazy in the chat room. You're on drugs. Pence just yeah, the Trump people, they're not going to move. They drank the Kool-Aid. They're worshiping QAnon, right? They know that Mike Pence is uncharismatic, saying nothing in favor of them, has nothing to say about anything, and is just there to kill time. They get it, right? They're all playing their game, right? The Trumpers in my live stream chat, they're pawns on the chessboard, right? That's all they are. They know that they're that, and they're content being that, because they know that they'll never amount to anything in their lives, and their lives might as well just be wasted being virtual soldiers in a campaign for someone who doesn't give a flying fuck about them. And that's the Trump campaign in a nutshell. They don't give a flying fuck about you. And Kamala Harris being able to consistently twist that against Mike Pence with ease was actually really well. Again, clearly what you're doing isn't working. I think that was the best line of the evening, and I wish I had that. If someone wants to get me on that audio clip, that would be great. Because clearly that was a dunk and a half right there. That was a dunk and a half. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the VP debate. Let me read some comments here. Maybe they're trying to keep the marijuana stuff low-key so more Republican people who aren't going to vote for Trump don't get scared away. I think that that's the case, Itor, but it's a bad electoral strategy. G. Wolf says, never underestimate the ability of the Democrats to shoot themselves in the foot. I'm not underestimating their ability to do that, but I don't think that they can do that more than Trump. Like, if it's a race and shooting yourselves in the foot, I think Trump has that on lock. I don't, really, again, the 2016 election was who can, they both can't swim and they're both in the middle of the ocean. Who can survive the longest? That was the 2016 campaign. The 2020 campaign is Donald Trump has an anchor tied to his ankle and they both can't swim, and who can survive the longest. That's the 2020 campaign. And so I don't know. I don't think so. Hello, Arisiamali Trifilum. I'm so sorry about my pronunciation of your name, but I think you're a new user, so welcome. Samia says, I'm hoping the legal cannabis issue will get some non-voters out of the House to vote for Biden. Yeah, if you know anybody that smokes weed and they're not a voter, or they're not, you don't know anything about their voting record, tell them, hey, vote for Biden. They're going to decriminalize weed. Get that clip of Kamala Harris talking about it at the debate. You're good to go. Get that person. That's an easy motivator. Easy motivator. Dev J says, I hope the U.S. finally legalized marijuana. At some point, yes, that's inevitable. So Narcos in Mexico will finally be gone. If crackheads in the U.S. stopped consuming them, Mexico will be a peaceful country again. That is a very important point. The drug war does not just have ramifications in the United States. It has ramifications abroad, not just in Mexico, but in all of Latin America as well. It's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, as far as the VP debate goes, I think it was honestly a destruction. I don't see how an undecided voter who is under the age of 60 is going to watch this debate and go like, Mike Pence has some good points. Like, I don't see that happening. I'm sorry. Or maybe if they're under the age of 60 and they're racist or whatever, they're probably not an undecided voter, right? But if they're an undecided voter under the age of 60, Kamala Harris got their vote. Or Kamala Harris got their vote, or they're still voting for nobody, right? That's the idea. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on the debate. That's what I think about that. Let's see, what else do I got queued up? I got some stuff queued up. All right. I'm sorry, I haven't had coffee today. I'm a little slow. I'm a little low energy. I'm acting like Jeb Bush on stage here. Alright, so the Commission on Presidential Debates says that the second Trump-Biden debate will be virtual. This came out early this morning. And Trump, getting the news, responds like this.
But I'm not going to do a virtual debate.
So Mr. President, you're not going to do it because the CPD, the Commission on Presidential Debates, announcing this morning that the second presidential debate will be virtual. Are you saying you're not going to participate?
No, I'm not going to waste my time on a virtual debate. That's not what debating's all about. You sit behind a computer and do a debate. It's ridiculous. And then they cut you off whenever they want.
Donald Trump is now, and this is what I thought would happen. This is exactly what I didn't think they would do it over virtual, right? But this is exactly what I thought would happen. Donald Trump is going to go full beta bitch mode, and he's going to run away on the next two debates. I knew it. Now, things might change. It's always possible that things will change, right? But I knew this would happen. There's no way, right, that Trump sees the ship sinking. He knows that going on to the debate stage is the only chance of him plugging the holes, because he gets to do the whole I'm Trump thing. Him on a low bandwidth like Zoom call does not have the same charisma, does not have the same ability, does not have the same anything. He knows that. He's fully cognizant of that because he has as much Zoom charisma as a wet paper bag, especially, right? Because where is he going to be? Like, is he going to be sitting in the Resolute desk or something cringe? Probably, right? I don't know, man. He knows that he's just got nothing. Unless he can cut Biden off and make him look like a goober, he's done. And he knows, like he said, they're going to cut his mic off. He doesn't want to play their game. He wants them to play his game. And that's an important distinction. So, again, it looks like the next two debates might not happen. Now, again, they might happen. Anything is possible. The Commission on Presidential Debates might buckle, right? Or maybe we'll get the Joe Rogan debate on this one. Maybe that'll happen, right? Who knows? Something might happen here. But it looks like, as of right now, Trump is going full beta bitch mode, trying to run away from a challenge. And, again, it's not surprising. The guy is losing, right? The undecided voters, they're gone, right? They're gone. Just like the radical left on Joe Biden, they're gone. The undecided voters for Donald Trump, they're gone. They're gone. But yeah, that's hilarious. I love that shit. I love when Trump does that. Like, yeah, I'm so strong, I'm not going to show up to a debate. remember during the 2016 primary, Donald Trump, there was an RNC debate, a Republican debate, and one of the moderators was someone that said something mean about Donald Trump on Twitter, and Trump didn't go to the one debate. There was one debate in the Republican primary that Trump didn't show up to because the moderator said something mean about him on Twitter, and he got triggered. So, and this is what anti-snowflakes are voting for. They're voting for someone that sues somebody over jokes. Bill Maher calls him an orangutan, and Donald Trump sues him. That's a little strange. That's interesting, right? Someone says something mean on Twitter, and Donald Trump runs away from a debate. But again, Donald Trump is simultaneously the weakest little beta scumbag, scrawny little bitch that he is, right? But in these people's minds, he's also King Kong. He's also king of everything. He's God himself incarnate, right? It's really bizarre stuff. Super strange. But I don't know, man. The anti-SJW, like, right-wing Republican Zoomer mind, like, it's cringe. It's cringe, right? And I'm like, the boomers are just gone. They're gone. But we're talking about people like under the age of 30 that are simping for Donald Trump. Like, dude, you're ruining the rest of your life. Trust me, right? I've had a YouTube channel since I was 14 years old, right? You don't want to be doing this shit when you're like 20. You don't want it because you are ruining the rest of your life. Take it from me, right? I've got experience with that. Okay? Like, imagine being like fucking Kyle Rittenhouse. You're a teenager and you end up killing people in support of Donald Trump. Like, that's not going to age well. That's not going to age well. Jesus Christ. Whew. What a fucking goober. Hello, rah. I mean, we're fucked no matter who wins the election. Absolutely correct. But with Biden, at least we have a chance of postponing ejaculation for a while. Absolutely, the world will be getting fucked for slightly longer. And I'm a fan of edging. I'm not sure about the rest of you. So that's right up my alley. Biden will have 3 teleprompters, 4 strippers, and Hillary in a burqa to keep him up. Okay, interesting fan fiction. Chiming in from across the Atlantic here, I've had back and forths with U.S. Americans who critique foreigners for their interest in U.S. politics. Do the general U.S. public that USA affects the world? Do they know that the USA affects the world? No, they're dumb as shit. Americans are fucking stupid. Absolute dullards. Absolute dullards. Like, seriously, Americans are fucking... God, they're so dumb. Hello, Trump trash. Trump skipped the debate in 2016 to steal charity money from veterans. Sounds about right. So, this story is a few days old. And this is from over the weekend when Donald Trump was having a real one on Twitter. Don Jr. thinks Trump is acting crazy. The president's COVID joyride has the family divided. This is coming from Vanity Fair. And I love this, like this is such a beta wave. Jesus Christ. It's so bad. But I just want to read this whole article because it's fucking funny. And you just love to see this kind of stuff, right? Like family feuds going on in the White House. This is great stuff. Donald Trump's erratic and reckless behavior in the last 24 hours. Again, this was over the weekend when this guy was live tweeting from a hospital bed when he was tripping on morphine or whatever the fuck. In the last 24 hours has opened a rift in the Trump family over how to rein in the out-of-control president. According to the 2 Republicans briefed on the family conversations, sources said Donald Trump Jr. is deeply upset by his father's decision to drive around Walter Reed National Military Medical Center last night with members of the Secret Service while he was infected with COVID-19. Again, there were only like 16 supporters out there with like it was embarrassing, dude. Embarrassing. Don Jr. thinks Trump is acting crazy, one of the sources told me. The stunt outraged medical experts, including an attending physician at Walter Reed. According to sources, Don Jr. has told friends that he tried lobbying Ivanka Trump, Eric Trump, and Jared Kushner to convince the president that he needs to stop acting unstable. Don Jr. has said he wants to stage an intervention, but Jared and Ivanka keep telling Trump how great he's doing. I love this! I love this! I love it. A source said Don Jr. is said to be reluctant to confront his father alone because they have a bad relationship. Reminder, Don Jr. is the son that Trump doesn't like, his least favorite son. I actually don't know. I remember him saying that about one of them, but I don't remember which one it was. So I just used that for both of them. Well, both of the adult ones. Obviously, Barron doesn't count. Barron is the favorite. We already know that. A source said, Don Jr. is said to be reluctant to confront his father alone. Don said, I'm not going to be the only one to tell him he's acting crazy, the source added. Now, Don Jr. thinks that he is the inheritor of the Trump empire. And maybe he is, right? That's totally possible. And that's why Don Jr. is kind of thinking of the future here. Everyone else is kind of they're just blissfully ignorant. They're just kind of thinking in the moment. Don Jr. is thinking like 60 years out. Don Jr. is thinking about the rest of his life right here. Don Jr. is thinking about his 2032 run for president, right? To maintain the legacy of his 8-year parents' reign, right? He's thinking, oh, what if Ronald Reagan had a kid that ran for office? That's what he's thinking, right? And seeing his dad go nutso, right? So close to the finish line, pulling an RBG, looking right? He's worried about his future. He's worried about his future, not his father's future. He doesn't give a shit about his father. He's worried about his future, and that's why he's acting like this. And I think it's great. I love it. I love this. I love this stuff. One area where the family seems united is over the president's manic tweeting early Monday morning, after Trump sent out more than a dozen all-caps tweets. I love that this is how, media just writes about the president. They write about him like he's some crazy dude, right? And that's because he is, and I love it. The Trump children told people they want Trump to stop. They're all worried. They've tried to get him to stop tweeting, a source close to the family told me. Again, I know that this is funny, right? But imagine, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Let's go 10 years ago, when Twitter was first coming out of the shell, right? Imagine 10 years ago, you're telling somebody in your family, yeah, 10 years from now, the President of the United States is going to be posting all caps on Twitter, right? While they're on, a 24-hour drug trip, and his kids are going to be doing damage control on Fox News all day. Imagine you were to have told that to someone 10 years ago. Now imagine 20 years ago, yeah, a president of these United States is going to be tweeting in all caps on a website online, right, while he is tripping on drugs in the hospital, right? Again, if you take this out of any context from the year 2020, it's so much funnier. The Trump family's private concern about Trump's behavior could raise questions about his fitness for office. Trump has been prescribed drugs that medical experts say can seriously impair his cognitive function. Last night, the New York Times reported that steroids, which Trump is reportedly taken, specifically dexamethasone, whatever the fuck, are known to affect mood, causing euphoria or a general happiness. Dude, the president is tripping on drugs, right? This is like me every night on Twitter, except imagine I'm the president, and imagine I'm significantly uglier. There is a long story in the Trump family of denying serious illness. According to a Trump family friend, Trump's father, Fred Trump Sr., insisted on working even after his Alzheimer's disease advanced in the 1990s. To retire is to expire, Fred Sr. would say. The friend said that as Fred Sr.'s disease worsened, he once came down the stairs wearing 3 neckties. The family created a system so Fred could think he was still running the Trump organization. Every day, Fred Sr. would go to the office in Brooklyn, and they would give him blank papers to sort through and sign. Doesn't that sound familiar? When Donald Trump was at the desk signing, on blank papers with a Sharpie, signing his name. In print, by the way, not in cursive, but in print. Remember, they shot these pictures in high def, so you can zoom in and see that all the photos or papers rather were blank. That sounds so familiar. I love it. Oh my God, the phone on Fred's desk was set up so that it could only dial out to his secretary. Fred pretended to work, the family friend said. The White House did not immediately respond for comment. And seeing how this story is a couple days old, chances are they're not responding to comment. But yes, Don Jr. and even in part of the rest of the Klan, they're worried. They're worried because they see their potential future legacy collapsing right in front of them. Trump is so close to the finish line, and he gets corona a month before the election. Damn, what a shame. Looks like you're going to need to have a new modified 20-year plan, Don Jr. I know the rest of us have had to modify our 20-year plans with this pandemic. I'm finally glad that you're joining the fray. He's probably mad his dad couldn't be mayor of period NYC, says G Wolf. Hello, Laura. How's it going? Exactly. Americans are raised to think that the only place in the world is the U.S. Exactly. Propaganda is ubiquitous under capitalism, but I think it's worse. It's significantly worse, without a doubt. We got a loser dullard in the stream here. Rittenhouse did what he did not for Trump. Fuck Trump. He's a patriot and handled himself like a professional. He hit that one Antifa with a gun right in the mid-arm. Imagine how disastrous your life needs to be for you to write what that guy just wrote. For you to actually write that out and press enter without a moment of hesitation, right? Profound.
Isn't it wonderful to allow protesting? No.
Anyway, so what do we got here? Okay. Alrighty. Okay. So, this next little tidbit, I'm going to be educating myself a little as well on. Over the next few days, this is something I am not aware of outside of what I've read this morning, so bear with me if I make any sort of mistakes. So, there were some protests in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. And so again, I don't really know much of the context here. I had not heard of this case before this morning, because last night I was watching the VP debate, and then I got really high, and then I went to sleep. So all of this kind of happened, and I didn't know any about it until I woke up this morning. So I'm going to try my best. I've got a few video clips that I've assorted from Twitter, mostly from one account, but whatever. There's not that much info on this protest yet. So again, this is still developing. So I'm just going to read to you this full NPR article because, again, I don't know any other details outside of a couple things I read this morning. So I'm a bad person when it comes to doing my due diligence, but I woke up late, so bear with me. Demonstrators marched in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, Wednesday. That's 3 W's in a row. Wednesday night to protest the decision not to charge a police officer in the killing of a black 17-year-old youth in February. Okay, so this killing happened in February. And this has been a very consistent theme. You saw the killers of Breonna Taylor. They didn't get charged with anything related to Breonna Taylor. They got charged with accidentally endangering the white neighbor by shooting at the wall of an apartment. So this is something you see often. There was also this case of another situation, I believe, of the victim was Jonathan Price, I want to say. I'm pretty sure the killer of him is also getting away scot-free as well. So this is something that happens very frequently. It's not good. And at this point, right, it's a feedback loop that's been well documented. People know, right, if you are not going to charge the officers with the things that they have done, that there will be a reaction, right? And there's a lot of people that will always blame the reaction and just ignore the action. And that's why when we talk about these protests, we have to understand what they're protesting. It's super important. So, Milwaukee County District Attorney John Chisholm said Wauwatosa police officer Joseph Mensah acted in self-defense by shooting Alvin Cole after police responded to a disturbance at a shopping mall. In a 14-page letter addressed to Wauwatosa Police Chief Barry Weber, Chisholm, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, presented details of the investigation into the incident and the reasons for his decision not to charge Mensah. Chisholm said the investigation found that Cole had a stolen 9mm pistol which he displayed at the Mayfair Mall during an argument with another person. Chisholm said when police arrived and encountered Cole in the parking lot, he ran from the officers, discharged the gun, refused to surrender it, and was then fired on by Mensah. Now, again, I don't know much about the initial case here, and I'm assuming that the protests continue and all that stuff. I'm going to be reading more details about that. But all of this I don't see as a reason for the death penalty, so I'm just throwing that out there. And also, it's very well known that police will lie about everything. For example, the police autopsy on George Floyd, right, said that he died of like fentanyl overdose or whatever the fuck, and then you had an independent autopsy reveal that no, he died of asphyxiation. So again, cops will lie at all costs. Cops adjacent, they will all lie. Anyone in the government will lie for cops before they lie for people. That's just how it goes in the year 2020. In this case, concluded Chisholm, there is sufficient evidence that Officer Mensah had an actual subjective belief that deadly force was necessary. An actual subjective belief. Like what? What? Don't we have laws for that? So that we don't have subjective beliefs when it comes to killing people? Alright? So he had a subjective belief that deadly force was necessary, and that belief was objectively reasonable. So the subjective belief was objectively reasonable. Interesting language. I do not believe that the state could disprove self-defense or defense of others in this case, and therefore could not meet the burden required to charge Officer Mensah. In addition to Chisholm's report, an independent investigator, former U.S. Attorney Stephen Biskupik, recommended that Mensah, who also is black, be fired. The Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel reports that Cole was the third person shot and killed by Mensah in the line of duty since 2015. That's a lot of people you're shooting and killing. I think as soon as you kill one person, you should lose your job as an officer. You've been desensitized to violence, right? You've gotten through violence, right? Chances are you've done so in an illegal fashion. You shouldn't, just for your safety and our safety, right? If someone has killed someone, they are significantly more comfortable with killing a second person than the first person. That's been statistically documented, right? With anything, right? If someone, plays baseball and hits a home run, they're going to be more capable of hitting a second than they were to be hitting the first. That's just how it works. So I think if you shoot someone, you should have thorough reviewing. If you kill someone, you should go get a different job immediately. That should not be a conversation at all. In addition to Chisholm's report, an independent I already read that. The Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel reports that Cole was the third person shot and killed by Mensah in the line of duty since 2015. The two earlier shootings were also found to be in self-defense, and the officer was not disciplined. How consistent? Biskupik wrote that keeping Mensah on the force creates an extraordinary, unwarranted, and unnecessary risk to the Wauwatosa Police Department in the city of Wauwatosa. At least there's some self-awareness there. The recommendation was harshly criticized by the state's largest police union. To use something that hasn't occurred, a fourth shooting, as a basis for terminating Officer Mensah now is ridiculous, said Jim Palmer, executive director of the Wisconsin Professional Police Association, according to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Again, police unions aren't real unions. They're garbage, folks, right? They're wolves in sheep's clothing. Protesters surrounded the Milwaukee County Public Safety Building while Cole's attorney and family members met with Chisholm, according to the Associated Press. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers announced during the day on Wednesday that he had activated the National Guard as a precaution to assist law enforcement in the event of demonstrations over the decision not to charge Mensah and Cole's death. The city of Wauwatosa, a Milwaukee suburb with about 48,000 residents, enacted a 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew through Monday. Protests were largely peaceful through late Wednesday, Wauwatosa police tweeted a video of protesters throwing rocks through store windows. What started as a protest has become a large disturbance of public order that has caused property damage and is threatening to cause injuries to persons, the Wauwatosa police said in a statement. While not all members of the group intend harm, it said everyone must disperse immediately. So again, I've got a bunch of videos. I don't have any particular order to these videos. This is just stuff that I found in a cursory search. So you can see here, police just kind of acting a little bit with instability. Very upset meatheads over there. Very interesting. So here we have another interesting video. Now again, there's a lot of people here. For a town that only has about 40 or 50,000 residents, this is a good show. This is a good showcase. But if you look at the police lineup here, look at the amount of cops that they have. And this is something for me that's always astounding, right? And again, I've been saying this since the start of these uprisings, is that we have enough money to the point where we can have, like, what, 50, 100 riot cops, right? Each riot costume, and they are costumes, don't get me wrong, each riot costume costs like $10,000 to $50,000. Yet we're having nurses and doctors in a pandemic depression committing suicide because they have seen traumatic things while treating people for COVID-19. We have a pandemic not of COVID-19, but of doctors committing suicide because the things that they have seen, because they don't have proper equipment to protect themselves and their staff, they're seeing their own staff get infected and die, and it's causing them extreme trauma and anxiety, right? And a proper costume or a proper uniform for a doctor or a nurse does not cost $50,000. It costs like maybe $5, right? And that's what's interesting here. Our government is capable of outfitting hundreds, thousands of these thugs, right, to beat the shit out of its own community, or their own communities, rather, right? But we can't outfit our doctors and our medical staff with proper protective equipment. We can't send 5 reusable masks to every household in April, right? The USPS had a plan to do that. We can't do that? Are you kidding me? The resources are there. They're just being stolen and utilized for things that we do not approve of. And so again, when you have this response to a protest, it creates a feedback loop. So as you can see, they march right up onto the police line. Now again, I don't know everything that happened at this protest. I'm only going off of clips that I've seen on Twitter and some stuff I found on Google. Right? So again, there's not a complete picture here. Now we have some evidence of people rioting and looting, it seems. As you can see, there's a gas station here. And they were rioting and they were looting. And that's, I think, a good thing. I mean, I don't know, this gas station has what? Insurance, right? You know, people are hungry. Like, let's go get a snack, right? I am fully in favor of looting when it comes to corporate businesses. Now, again, if it turns out that that gas station is a family-owned gas station and they only got one gas station or something, which is unlikely, right? But if that is the case, right, and if all the context bears that out, I disagree with that. I think people should have looting targets like actually lined up beforehand. If you're going to loot, right, if that's something that you've made the decision to do, what you should do is make sure you don't fuck someone's life over, right? Because we're in the middle of a pandemic, we're in the middle of a depression, you don't want to ruin someone's life. You want to help as many people as possible, and that's my thing. So again, that's my stance on looting. So we have the police, and I'm so sorry for that. You have the police throw tear gas here, not good. Tear gas being used in almost every city in America right now. Like, it's ridiculous, dude. This shit's nuts. This is another thing I saw. And I don't know what the scoop is with this person. I don't know if they're on the, like, the side, so to speak, of Black Lives Matter, or if they're a vigilante, or if they're an undercover cop, or so I don't know. They seem to be LARPing, right? They don't look like a police officer, but they do have like a Halloween costume badge on, and they seem to be directing traffic. So that's interesting, super interesting. I would love to know more about that. But then you've got, this is where things get a little like a little bit of what is the term? Haywire, I think. Hectic is another term. There's tear gas and a lot of projectiles being shot and a lot of clashes outside of a residential neighborhood. And so that's that's a recipe for disaster, because you're going to get these people in these homes who are going to call the cops saying that there's a party going on, because they're afraid to look out their window, right? Because that's how white people are. And then the cops are going to be like, oh, sorry, that's us throwing tear gas through your window. My bad. Right, so that's super problematic. And again, just as a public service, announcement, if you're a protester at a Black Lives Matter rally, you definitely do not want to be attacking residential property. Now, if it's like Mitch McConnell's home, right, I'm not going to shed a tear. That's not going to be something I'm going to get involved in. I might post a clip and laugh, right? But if it's some random person's house, right, you don't want to be throwing rocks through their windows. That's just a bad idea. That's bad optics. And I'm not one to really care about optics, right? I'm not a huge optic person when it comes to these protests. I'm more concerned with justice. I'm more concerned with community organizing. I'm more concerned with getting what we need. But as far as optics go, throwing rocks through random people's homes, not good. That's definitely not good. So that's something I definitely cannot endorse. And we have a candidate for Congress in Georgia who's using a lot of these videos for her ad campaigns. And again, I'm not much, I don't really care. Most of that shit is photoshopped. They're going to lie about you regardless, right? So it's not a huge deal. But I'm just I've got a platform. I've got X amount of viewers. If someone's going to watch me, right, and they're going to go out to a protest, I want to instill to them what I believe, right? If you are going to go to one of these moments, right, that could be a moment of rebellion against the state, the best way to do that is to focus on corporate property and government property. When you start going after residential property, that just creates a problem. And this is something I've seen very, very little in all of these protests around the country. And this is why this is such bad optics, is because this happens almost, if not never. And so when you have this stuff captured on video, again, it's just bad optics. You just don't want to do that. It's bad optics. It's also bad praxis, right? It's just not good. Now, again, if this is the home of a politician or a district attorney that made a bad decision, or a police officer, that's one thing, right? I don't really care. I'm not trying to say you should go after and do anything, right? I got to be somewhat responsible here with my platform, right? But at the same time, right? You just don't want to do that to random people's homes. You just don't. Because there's going to be someone who's going to go on Fox News in 3 days from now talking about how, and this is how you can tell that this is not an epidemic, because you would see this more often. But you're going to see someone on Fox News in 3 days from now, right, saying, oh, a rioter threw a brick through my window and I was so scared, and the police were you're going to see that. If that's a thing, right, if the person in these homes or whatever that had to deal with this is of that persuasion in any capacity, they've already got the invite from Fox News. They've already got that deal. They're already going to go on as soon as possible. So, again, you just got to be safe. You got to make sure that you keep people in line. Yes, there's going to be opportunists, but you can't let them define the movement. You just can't do it. Can't do that. And as a result, you got to do your best to have all of the messaging be as positive as possible. And I say getting rid of police is positive messaging. That's my opinion. So anyway, that's what I've seen on this protest so far. Again, I haven't done a deep dive. This is just a cursory glance. But it seems overall, I don't know the full situation of the original shooting. But the protest seems very organized for the most part, and that's very nice to see. Seeing more spontaneous protests occurring that are organized means that our populace in this country is getting more organized, they're mobilizing more, they're strategizing more, and people are making those community connections. And that is what is extremely important, right? Is that people are making these connections so that, yeah, protesting, great. But what do we do after the protest, right? What do we do after the protest is over? And that's what's important. You need to make friends, you need to make comrades, and you need to make connections. You need to have mutual aid networks, right? If someone gets arrested at a protest, you need to be able to help them. If someone is being arrested at a protest, you need to try your best if the situation presents itself, right? If it's 1 or 2 cops versus 40 people, try to de-arrest them, right? You need to do what you can to protect your people. If someone needs help paying bills, you need to be able to have a line to help them. Have like a Twitter account, right, that has like, you know, followers that wouldn't be mind donating to a GoFundMe, right? So like that's like the thing you got to focus on. You can't just throw things at people's property. That's not going to solve the problem. Now again, if you want to go to a corporation, right, that's one thing. Right, I'm not saying you should do that. I think there's more things that you can do. I think there's a lot of things that you can do that are probably more effective. But I'm not going to shed a tear if a Target gets its window broken. Boo-hoo, right? But again, you got to be smart. You got to strategize. And you got to, the number one goal is to help each other. Right? So when you protest, when you make these connections, if someone needs help buying diapers, you need to help them buy diapers, right? If someone needs help feeding their cat, right? Their cat's important to them, right? What if they have anxiety, right? If their cat dies, if something happens to their cat, this person is not going to be capable of helping you. This person's not going to be okay. You need to help people to the best of your ability, and that's what these protests are about. And that seems to be happening in a lot of cities across America. And the idea that these protests could gain such large numbers so spontaneously leads me to believe that something good will come from these protests, and that's what I think. So, yes. We got some big brains in the chat. Oh, just one big brain. Okay. White people are afraid to look out their window? Okay. Gun owners are not afraid to look out the window. I love like all white people are gun owners in this guy's mind. That's great. Inciting a riot is illegal. Absolutely. I have to be careful of what I say. I am not particularly too careful. I make it explicitly clear that I don't endorse certain behaviors and that I endorse other behaviors. I don't know. Freedom of speech, I'm pretty sure. Like, I don't, like, if I were to say, like, go do this, like, maybe, right? If I were to have, like, a plan of action, if I were to have, like, an email list, right? Or, like, you know, like, whatever, then maybe I could be charged with inciting a riot. But if I'm on a fucking podcast giving my opinion on a Twitter video, I'm good, right? Like, you don't have to worry about me. I'm good. You can say whatever you want, but if you are the first to throw a rock, you are inciting. Yeah, inciting a riot is less. I mean, again, if Trump wins or cheats a second term, hey, we're looking at like 2 years down the line, I might be in a jail cell for my podcast, right? But we're not at that point yet. I don't really, if that does happen, I'll deal with it. I don't care, right? Like, I'm not going to like lie. I'm not going to cover for people, right? I'm not going to do that. I tell my opinions, and that's what I do. But yes, one of the things that I want to talk about more on this, and this is why I spent so long talking about the residential thing. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is a congressional candidate in a safe Republican district. This person is someone who believes in the QAnon conspiracies. And I'm sorry if my posture is a little bad. I'm kind of like laying down. I didn't have my coffee today. Right, I'm kind of lounging, so bear with me. But she believes in QAnon, and she is a QAnon fundamentalist, if you can believe that. She is a QAnon fundamentalist. And so there was these protests, right, that I mentioned before, and people were throwing things at residential buildings. And so this congressional candidate decided to take a clip from that and try to, for whatever reason, hop on the VP debate hashtag. I don't know. But this was also like after the debate ended. So I don't know. I guess they were just doing that for like attention. Oh, maybe someone's going to go on the VP debate hashtag and see the rioters and looters, right? I think that's what this was. But either way, you can see video of people going through to residential areas, throwing shit through windows. Now, again, that's problematic. I'm less concerned with private property. Like if it's a local family-owned business, that's one thing. I think that you should know what you're doing. Throwing bricks senselessly, I think that's a bad idea. Throwing rocks senselessly, I think that's a bad idea. Strategically, these tactics can be useful, but when you're throwing them through windows, they get weaponized by right-wing crazy people. This is all over 4chan. This is all over 8chan. This is all over all these countries, or all over all these websites, my bad. And this is something you've really got to worry about. And again, optics are not my main concern, and I want to be clear with this one. Optics are not my main concern. My main concern is building community bonds. My main concern is making sure that when people go to these protests, they make friendships and relationships that last the rest of their lifetime. They make connections with people that live in their neighborhoods that last the rest of their lifetime. These protests are more and should be more about community solidarity than they are about protesting any particular thing from the government. Now, that's not to say, obviously, that I'm trying to dictate what protesters should do or what they should protest about. Not at all, right? The protest against the government, you should be doing that, right? But like it's a second order thing, right? The first order should be when you go to these events, when you go to these protests, when you go to these demonstrations, talk to as many people as you can, get as many phone numbers as you can, right? Make as many friends as you can, because these are moments, right, that are fledgling moments in time, right? There could be, right, a situation where these protests and this mass movement dies off, whether it be because of reform, whether it be because of oppression from the state. That is a total thing that's possible. And so the thing that will last from these movements is you're going to be able to say 40 years from now, oh yeah, I met Joey at one of these protests. I met Christine at a protest. Back in 2020 during the battle against police, during the movement for Black Lives, I met fucking Anthony at a protest, and that's going to be like, that's the origin story that you're going to look for here. And that's going to be how we actually make proper actual change in this country, is by building that class strength, unionizing, mobilizing, strategizing. And again, I don't really give a shit what you do, right? I'm not going to be there to worry about that. But again, going at people's houses, not a good thing. Definitely not good optics, not good at all. And again, it's being weaponized by QAnon crazy people. And you got to know that. And again, they're going to weaponize it regardless. You think Marjorie hasn't been on the rioter and looter train for the last 6 months? You bet your fucking bitch ass that she's been on the rioter and looter train for the last 6 months. She loves this stuff. She eats, sleeps, and breathes talking about how evil black people are, because that's the way of the QAnon cult. That's the way that they get their message out, right? So I'm not like, they're gonna slander, they're gonna libel, they're gonna shit talk, regardless of what happens, and that needs to be underscored. However, again, at the same time, you want to make sure that your priorities are in check, and you want to make sure that your class solidarity is in check, right? If someone, right, is living in their house and like they support your movement, but that you throw a brick through the window, they're going to be less likely to support your movement, right? And yes, you can say it was an outside agitator. It might have been. It might have been an opportunist. It might have been this and that, right? But again, we're all about building class strength here, and we got to focus on that first and foremost. That is the number one goal, is making friends and building strength. Mutual aid networks, right? For the most part, I'm in the media game. That's what I do, right? Like, I'm a loser. I've got a podcast, right? That's my game. So yeah, I'm going to talk about these QAnon people, right? That's what I do here. You got to know what they're doing in some capacity, right? But if you're in a protest, don't worry about, what are the QAnoners going to say about this? Don't worry about that. That's second order. First order is to make sure that the people that are on your side, the people that you care about, right, also care about you and care about each other. That is the first and foremost goal of any protest, is building community strength, solidarity, mobilize, unionize, strategize, right? But again, QAnoners, this person is going to be in Congress, right? You have to understand, if you don't know who Marjorie Taylor Greene is yet, this bitch is going to be in Congress, right? This is like the right-wing AOC kind of phenomenon, right? Remember when AOC was elected and everyone started freaking out and she became like a superstar and has tens of millions of followers, right? Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to be like that for the right wing, going to be like that for the QAnon. If Trump is gone, and right, like who knows if that's possible. If Trump is gone, Marjorie Taylor Greene is his legacy, and this is going to be someone you want to at least pay a little passing attention to. But yeah, that's my show for today. Hopefully y'all enjoyed. Let's see what we got. Let's read some chat messages. In France, if someone says to target this or that in a riot, they may be in trouble. I'm not necessarily saying to target anything. I think I mentioned the store Target. But what my point is, like, if there's going to be a brick to be thrown, and, you know, I'm not going to be one to tell you not to throw a brick, but if there is a brick to be thrown, don't do it at a house. That's all I'm saying. Don't do it at a family business. Don't do it at a mom and pop shop, right? Like, I would say, like, again, if there is any corporate business in this neighborhood, right, deal priorities. I'm talking about priorities, folks. Priorities. Trump supporters are actually scared because they know they're about to get payback for the last 5 years of harassing Mexicans and Muslims and trans people and black people. Karma, baby. I hope you're right, Trump trash. I don't think that they're scared. I think there's a contingent that might be scared. But that contingent is not the winning contingent. QAnon is the winning contingent of Trump supporters here. QAnon is Trump support into the 2020s. That's what that is. This is soup for my family. This is soup for my family, they say.
Isn't it wonderful to allow protesting? No.
The Trump trash don't actually care about other people's property. They're just terrified that they'll get their asses beat by BLM and Antifa. That could be true. That could be true. I am that I am says throw a projectile, and this is a Trump cringer. Throw a projectile, response should be a 12 gauge. If you think murder is proper response to a broken window, you might be a psychopath. And I suggest therapy. Time to take over neighborhoods, businesses, and government buildings. Sure, yeah, I mean, hey, let's do another round of Chaz. I'm guessing you are on antipsychotics. Sure. Why not? Whatever you want to tell yourself, I am that I am. Is it the optics that matter or the morals of kicking down doors that matter? Again, it depends on the door. Like, you don't want to go to someone's house who's on your side and fuck with them. That's just not, that doesn't do what the goal is. I get it, Silver Kindle, you're an idiot and you're a Trump voter. I understand that. But just so other people understand, it's about priorities here. A response to a brick should be a bullet. Again, I suggest therapy for that one because that's definitely very psychotic. And you're saying I'm on antipsychotics? Dude, I'm sitting in my bedroom doing a podcast, right? You're in a YouTube chat room of a stream that has 20 viewers talking about killing people. I would say that if you're going to compare and contrast us, right? Psychosis is definitely something I think that would be more applicable to you as a person. Rioters don't go straight for the jewelry store. I don't know what you're saying. Is stealing jewelry bad? I don't necessarily agree with that. If it's a corporate-owned jewelry store, fuck them. I don't give a shit. If it's a family-owned business, I'm more in favor of not doing that. Cringerama 2020. People really do be like, murder is an appropriate response to property damage, but property damage isn't literally, yes. Like, yeah, if you throw a brick at a window, I can murder you and your entire family, but if you murder my entire family and then throw a brick through my window, then you should, like what? It's a weird paradox that these people don't, they're not on the same cognitive level that we are, right? So like that's a huge thing you have to understand here is the hypocrisy. Cognitive dissonance is something that Republicans are able to pull off because they don't have an ideology. Their ideology is really based around I hate black people, I hate gay people, I hate trans people, I hate immigrants. That's their ideology, right? And so whatever supports that in the moment is fine. It does, like they don't have any like, you know, core principles or core beliefs. It's just these are crazy people that want an excuse to kill people. And so if they can convince themselves, oh yeah, it's the brown people that are not human and I can shoot them with my 12 gauge, then that's okay. Like it's anything to make them, to convince themselves that it's okay to murder. That's their whole shindig there. All of them are family-owned jewelry stores. I've been to family-owned jewelry stores and I've been to corporate jewelry stores. To say that every jewelry store is family-owned, I think is not true. Reminder, psychosis doesn't imply having fucked up beliefs that warrant killing people. Poor people who have psychotic issues don't deserve to be compared with Trumpers. I agree. I was using their language because they claimed I was on antipsychotics. And I do definitely want to not portray psychosis as a bad thing inherently. I was just using their words against them, which I apologize for. Oh, Antifa, the fascist in sheep's clothing and their sister's jeans. No one is scared? William McCaw, first of all, if no one is scared, why are congressional candidates using clips of the rioters and looters going through people's homes, like for their ad campaigns? Maybe Marjorie Greene isn't scared, but she knows that her voters are. So again, this is simultaneously, and again, in their sister's genes. So you're calling them soy boys that are simultaneously able to destroy and burn down every city in America? Really bizarre stuff. A 24-year-old that has accomplished nothing is giving advice. Priceless. I mean, the thing is, I'm a real person. I'm a normal person. I am relatively speaking to you, of course. Right? I know what normal people think. I know how normal people behave. You are saying you want to find any excuse to kill people. So, I think there's definitely a disconnect there. But again, this show is over. Thank you for watching, everybody. I will be back later this evening with some Castlevania Symphony of the Night. That will be happening today, this evening, this afternoon. I don't know what time I'm going to go ahead and do that, but it will be happening nonetheless. So again, I hope everyone had a good time. I really do. I've been really enjoying these morning shows. It keeps me up in the morning, gives me a lot of fun. I like show prep. This has been a lot of fun. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. I care about you. You're all wonderful people. You are all absolutely, well, I mean, except for the Trump trash. except for those guys. You threw a brick through my window. Now I'm going to have revenge on your entire family. Like, those people are fucking weird, right? They're super strange. But yeah, you know, that's just how it is. So, thank you for watching, and have a good day.
Isn't it wonderful to allow protesting? No, 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 no.
He was not a loser. He was a patriot, and the people left behind there were heroes. And I resent like hell. I'm talking about my son, Beau Biden. You're talking about me.
I don't know Beau. I know Hunter. Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. It wasn't dishonorable.
Cocaine use. And he didn't have a job until you became vice president.
You're dying. That's true. And it is what it is. You're dying. That's true. And it is what it is.
dumb people, liberal people.
Well, it was an amazing phone call I made. 40 Wall Street actually was the second tallest building in downtown Manhattan, and it was actually, before the World Trade Center, was the tallest. And then when they built the World Trade Center, it became known as the second tallest, and now it's the tallest. And I just spoke to my people. Well, it was an amazing phone call I made. 40 Wall Street actually was the